Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Spawncast episode 395. A little bit of a lighter episode as we're just getting back into the groove here in 2025. We even have Evan, who's not here. He's at like another. He said he's at a what do you say, a mini LAN party?
Yeah,
it's only a 5-day LAN party this time, not the like several week LAN party. But and like Josie's traveling and stuff, and I kind of figured we might run into that for like a few days after New Year's and stuff here. But we wanted to still get together, have like a mini episode or something. But I mean, I have some topics down. I got some over under, just some fun stuff written down here. And we'll go around because we do have MVG joining us, who was actually in the news this past week anyway. And he reminded me of the topic, so I threw it in there. It's good to have it. Yeah, dude, people are covering your GTA 3 video.
Oh. Why did they cover mine?
You went too early, man. It's all about timing.
I did not go too early.
All about timing.
There was videos up the day before. If anything, I was late to the party.
No.
I could see the headlines now. Mid-30s man fumbles around in GTA 3 on the Dreamcast.
Well, can't say that.
I haven't had some good context about the background of it and stuff. So it's while it is kind of looking back on it and revising history a bit as to what if, I still threw it in there as a fun little topic. That, and I did also manage to put Shenmue in here too for Sean, since he's on like this whole Dreamcast kick. So I'm trying to shape the show around some of the people's interests here today. I think it'll be fun. Yeah, RGT is here, just in case anyone didn't realize. And Celia.
Greetings. Hi.
It's good to have Celia here. So, as I mentioned, I looked back at some of the stuff that happened just kind of over the past couple of weeks while we were out on holidays and everything, which did include the Dreamcast stuff with the GTA 3, a new handheld going into CES next week, which actually MVG is going to CES.
Yep, 15 minutes from my house. I got a pass. I'll be heading out there next week. I'll check it out.
Oh, cool. Okay, cool. So MVG is going to be on the floor. Are you actually going to like break out the phone and do any filming of just like random stuff there?
I may take a few shots of things if there's anything interesting to, like maybe the Atari thing. I know we're going to talk about that, but any cool new retro devices that may be there, I'll check out.
Yeah,
I'll be interested.
That should be fun. And so we have that. They have the Sega just destroying Sean's dreams of a Dreamcast Mini, really. So I thought I'd throw that in there. This is great. So let me start here, though. The holiday break. How was everyone's break? How did it go? Christmas, New Year's, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, maybe.
It was fine.
Yeah, I mean, you went to the grandparents, Sean. I know that.
The proper way to hold the N64 controller runs in the family.
Oh, geez.
I can't believe
It's funny because the manual like that? The manual says otherwise, but go off.
We don't read manuals. Why would you read a manual on how to hold a controller? Like, you do what's natural to you.
I feel like when you're holding it wrong, maybe you should, but that's okay.
Because
happy as a family.
I set up the N64. Mm-hmm. I told her it was set up. I left the room. I came back like 10 minutes later. And I looked at her hands and I was like, oh my fucking God. I was like, don't move. And she was like, what? I was like, I need to take a video of this. She was like, I look fat. And I was like, I won't put your face in it. Just let me film your hands.
You're supposed to say, no, you don't.
Yeah,
I won't put your face in the video. Don't worry. I'll cut it off.
Well,
okay. 2 things. Sean, you need to read a manual on how to use the controller. And then you also need a manual on how to respond to that. Please.
She was
to tell them no.
She was completely perplexed. She was like, well, how do other people hold it? And I showed her and she was like, that doesn't make sense. That's not how we would hold it. And I was like, I know.
Okay, whatever.
I mean, for you, Sean, I get it. You played a lot of the wrestling games back then, so like that left grip was.
She was playing Mario 64. That's
see, that seems weird.
No.
Oh man,
absolute precision.
Well, if people didn't see that video, go check it out. It's over on Sean's Twitter, and it's ridiculous. The holiday break, though, I thought it was. I mean, I got a chance to play a couple of games and stuff, but for the most part, it was just it was good. We did the gift giving stuff, and we're still kind of going through that. It's like when you get so many different families and people coming over randomly to give the kids gifts, it's like setting up a whole schedule again for that. Every couple days, someone else shows up with presents. Not for me, but it was nice and kind of quiet. New Year's was fun.
What was your favorite gift? that you got?
That I got? Best Buy gift card.
My favorite gift was my Thrustmaster Hotaz for Flight Simulator 2024.
Getting all kinds of stuff. I'm
Nice.
getting like
Freaking love that
I'm getting
thing,
like
man.
sheets and Best Buy gift cards. MVG's like, I got this crazy flight stick that's you put a
good.
picture of that in the chat.
Dude, I'm thinking about setting up a legit flight simulator in my room right now. Like, I've got the bug. I want to do like the 3 monitors and the cockpit and everything. I don't know. It could be a very expensive rabbit hole.
Get a helmet too. Make the fit complete.
helmet. It's like
Not
the
to-
oxygen going into it, like that. Yeah, I think it's so
Yeah.
you're like going upside down, you like
And-
black out.
And I know you guys are giving me shit, but I got my commercial pilot's license in Flight Simulator 2024. So yeah, I'm on my way. On my way.
Oh, interesting.
Bro.
Well, where'd you have to fly to in it? Where you
Well,
been flying?
so it's like Forza Horizon. It's like Forza Motorsport or Gran Turismo, but with an aeroplane. So you start out, you do these like small little Cessna flights. You do these like little free flights around just a small vicinity, and then the next level you can start taking passengers on, and you can do like tours for the passengers. So basically, it's like, I think it's randomly generated missions. It'll be like take Jenny from Los Angeles to some other town, and you can do like a couple of circles around the neighborhood and the town that she wants to take photos of. So you kind of, as you kind of finish missions, you level up, and then you're able to unlock more different challenges and different flying missions. So you can do like helicopter flying. You can do like there's a you know how you have like a sign on the back of the airplane, and you can like have a sign, you know, those billboards and stuff like that. You can do those types of missions. You can, as you kind of level up even more, you can do commercial airlines, which is where I'm at now. So you can start flying like 737s and 747s. So it's a lot of fun. Like it.
Is it pretty well streamlined? Because I just imagine flight simulators like there's stuff everywhere you got to account for while you're flying.
It's really, really detailed. And I'm not like a pilot or anything like that. I got most of the assists turned on, let's be honest, but I like it, man. It is a little buggy, though, I will say. Remember when the game launched last year? It was really like no one could play it. Remember that? Like
I tried to play it and it didn't work at all.
It's better, but it's still not fixed. Like the amount of time you have to wait to get into a game is ridiculous. Like sometimes I have to wait for 10 minutes before I can get into the game. So
are you getting trained to the point, MVG, where if we're flying and some emergency happens, both pilots are incapacitated, could you land the plane?
See, I was thinking about this, right? I probably couldn't, because I'd just be terrified, I think, at that point. I think there's a, you know, it takes some type of psychological thing to be like, yeah, I'm in charge now. I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna land this airplane. I don't think I could be put in that situation.
Okay.
Pussy.
Maybe.
Well, hopefully we never have to find out. But that's you're gonna set up the whole thing, 3 monitors. How's that run on just the 1 monitor now, though?
It's great.
Okay.
I'm running it at 4K with DLSS. I'm running the PC version, and it's pretty good. But it is very choppy as well, because you can tell where it's like struggling to pull in all this like, you know, photogrammic data and geometry and stuff on the cloud. You can tell sometimes it chugs, especially when you get into more dense areas and big cities and stuff like that. Like I was just doing a free flight over Manhattan, and man, it was struggling. And it wasn't because, you know, my PC couldn't handle it. It was just streaming so much in, and it was struggling to keep up. And I think a lot of other people have complained that the experience can get choppy as well. So again, they still have work to do on their end to figure this out. Honestly, I feel like they should have just dropped the game on like 5 discs and said, here you go, just install the whole thing.
I feel like it'd probably be more. I mean, 5 Blu-rays, maybe like dual layer Blu-rays. It's apparently it's a stupid amount of data that they're streaming in.
Yeah, but I feel like, you know, like maybe each disc could be like a different continent in the world or something. Because right now, I've only been flying over the US. Like I haven't really done any international flights and stuff like that. So maybe, you know, there's a way to to do that, to separate them out.
Did you fly to your house? I feel like that's what a lot of people do is they just go looking for their house right away.
I actually haven't done that yet, but I'll start doing that.
Okay.
I'm kind of just doing the flying challenges and the career mode right now, just trying to become a pilot. So
there's another game you played, MVG.
Dragon Age, Veilguard. I am about 60 hours into it, John. I think I'm at close to end game. I like it. I know I'm going to annoy your entire chat and people that watch this show, but I don't give a shit. Dragon Age is a good game. It got didn't deserve all the hate that it got online. So I know people in the comments are going to...
It's not just me who played through Dragon Age. MVG's about to beat it, so you can yell at him too.
I think the game is fine. There's definitely some writing that I don't know. Like I feel like the writing in some parts isn't as good as maybe Inquisition, but overall, John, I mean, you've played it. I really like the game. I did the 2 dragon encounter. I don't want to spoil it, but that was really, really good. Like some of the boss fights you get into that in that game are fantastic.
That's a game I said I think it gets basically it's viewed as like the worst game ever online, and it's just such a okay game. Like it's not terrible, it's not incredible, it's like somewhere in the middle. But it's certainly not like the worst game ever made. How I see it portrayed online.
I went back and it got an 82 on Metacritic, and I think that's about right.
Yeah, it's about right. Yeah, I'd put it right around there. Like I think a nice 8 out of 10 is good for it. After going through, I think I'm actually a few trophies away from the platinum, so I might have.
I'm thinking I may do that too because I've done almost every side mission, and I've been really kind of just focusing on trying to just play as much as the game as I can. So yeah, I think I could probably get a platinum on that one. I looked at the percentages; none of them are really, really low. So I think most people have done the platinum on it. So I may do that.
I also started another game that is hated online, and it's only because of a passing comment from Nate. Where I'm a few hours into Suicide Squad now, so I'm just going to beat that game.
Why would you waste your time with that?
Really, it's like 10 or 11 hours to beat it. It hasn't been hard at all, no difficult, just kind of blowing through it now. So I might just do it just to do it at this point. So we'll see. I'm playing that, and like on the side, Dragon Quest 3 is the main push right now, and it's very good. HD2D. But Sean, you did play Dreamcast this break.
Yeah, I just finished Shenmue again.
Classic. Yep. You already played that on the Xbox. You not play it again there. You just wanted to play it on the original hardware.
This is probably the 10th, 20th time I've beaten that game. Like
you beat that game again, and you definitely beat it in a couple days.
And that was actually taking my time a bit, honestly. I actually got a new cutscene too, because I always neglected the cat because it's a cat. But I was like, let me not neglect the cat this time. And then I saw something that I'd never seen before at the end. And I guess it's kind of a spoiler. But like the cat gets healed and like it's on top of the shrine and it like jumps down and stuff. And then that's the last you ever see of it.
So look at that. You were nice to a cat, Sean.
Are you doing Shenmue 2 next? Or are you taking a break?
I might. I mean, Shenmue 2 is great. But Shenmue 1, I think, is just so much like, I don't know. Like, it almost like, I almost feel like they didn't quite, like, they added stuff to Shenmue 2, but I don't feel like they added quite enough stuff, Like, it felt like Shenmue 1.5, which is all right. But, Shenmue 1 just has that impact and, like, the town and the townsfolk and, the story and all that stuff. Like, everything is just very iconic, in my opinion.
Never reached the heights of Shenmue 3, unfortunately.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that means you got to go through 2 and then you got to go through 3 again.
Yu Suzuki is a terrorist. All right. And I got people so mad at me for saying that like he is a shitbag for not finishing the story in Shenmue 3. And people are like, what? I'm like, dude, you're never going to get a fucking conclusion. What is wrong with you? Why would you not rather have it all wrapped up in a nice package? No one is going to touch a Shenmue 4. No one. People got burned by
like
Kickstarter.
diehards, maybe.
You can't crowdfund it. No company is going to touch it. Like, this was the opportunity, and he squandered it completely. He's not a young, spry chicken. He's in his late 60s. Like, come the fuck on, man. people are just people just have this romanticized thing that like, oh, it's gonna play out and everything, and they're just gonna make the game. Companies are struggling with marquee AAA games and sequels and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm sure a niche game that probably still won't even wrap things up is gonna do blockbuster numbers, and companies are gonna be going hand over fist to fucking publish it and stuff. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. It's ridiculous, dude.
Celia, how'd your break go?
Pretty well. A bunch of family came over, so I didn't have like that much time for video games. But I finally beat Sonic Advance 2 Battle because I was gonna go see the Sonic 3 movie. I know, really random, but I never beat it. So, because around that time I was playing a bunch of different games and I didn't finish any of them. And before I saw Sonic 3, it became the mission to beat the game, so like I could catch more references or whatever. And I did. And yeah. The audio was really bad. Kind of forgot about that. But it was incredible. I really enjoyed it. I still love the Chow Garden. It was a good time. It was a good time. Besides that, I downloaded Indiana Jones. And then when I tried to play it on Game Pass, I got an error saying that my graphics card can't handle it or whatever. So I don't know.
What?
I was really surprised because I've never had that happen before.
Well,
but I guess my computer.
What graphics card do you have?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Well, because that game is heavily reliant on VRAM. Like, you need a certain amount to play it the way it operates. And I think if it's like 10 gigs or less, it doesn't work right.
Wait a minute. Can't you play it on Steam Deck?
Yes.
No. What Indiana Jones? It doesn't work well.
Okay, I'm hearing yes. I'm hearing it doesn't work well. So
from my understanding, it doesn't work well at all. Like, I was able to play it on the ROG Ally X, and that's because it has 24 gigabytes of memory. But to my understanding, there are issues with it. Like, that's why that new Intel video card people are saying is actually pretty good value because it has 16 gigabytes of VRAM. It's something about Indiana Jones and the amount of VRAM you have. That makes it. I mean, you could play it on your Series X, I guess, technically, Celia.
Yeah,
I just googled this. Indiana Jones running at stable 30 FPS and all right image quality on Steam Deck.
Oh, there you
go.
So
I heard it ran terrible according to John the Leprechaun.
Well, I think you probably run on your Series X if you have issues with it, though. Silly, I guess, technically.
Yeah. See, problem is that I have it on Game Pass PC, so that means I would have to buy it. And I don't know, maybe if I win a contest, I'll play it if I get the key. But besides that, I did pick up the Pokemon DLC finally for Pokemon Violet, and it's really buggy, worse than the base game. And yeah, it's a time. But there's a lot of Gen 2 Pokemon in that, so I've been just ignoring the missions and just catching Pokemon. It's been pretty cool.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Let me see. I'm just going to go to, I had some questions I wanted to go over real quick as I was going through this break and some of the things people were discussing. There was an article that came up in an interview with Herman Holst. He answered a lot of stuff, but he did talk about the PS5 this generation and how the PS6 won't be affected by this generation in terms of how long it is. And that got me thinking a bit about the length of generations as we've gone along, with some being longer than others. And with where the PS5 and the Xbox Series kind of started, really, which was with COVID, and that knocked a lot of things off schedule and kind of puts things on the back foot. Would you guys prefer this generation we're in now to be longer rather than it be a shorter generation? So let's say people are saying 2027. It's like a 7 or 8 year generation. Would people be opposed to a 10-year generation for this one before we got to the next systems? Or would some people rather be shorter, like we've heard with the Xbox Series and Microsoft moving on maybe even at the end of 2026? It's like a 6-year gen.
Well, first off, I don't think Xbox is doing a traditional console for their next generation system. I mean, that's in my video that I made. You're watching this on Saturday, so yesterday. I think the whole point of console generations has been diminished, though, because the whole reason you had console generations back in the day that were, 4 or 5 years old, and then 2 years into the system's life cycle, you're hearing about the next thing, is because technology was moving so fast. Now we're at a point where technology does move, but the games take so fucking long to make that, it's pointless. You're going to end up releasing 1 or 2 games a generation. I mean, if you look at the output of games this generation, it's been on a bit of the slow side. And, if the games don't really hit with you as far as like first party stuff is concerned, it's a little bit more barren, I think. So, we're at the point of diminishing returns in terms of graphics and things like that. And I don't think a bad life cycle or a long life cycle should be viewed as a bad thing with the PS5 and the Xbox, just because of the fact that this isn't a situation like the Switch where the technology was arguably already outdated by the time it came out, but they made the most of it. Like, these are very powerful systems that can do a lot of great things, but the games have just been, a bit of a trickle to come out.
Okay, so you're not opposed to it being just a longer generation and we just sit around with the PS5 and the Xbox Series for a while?
No, I'm not, because it gives developers more time to make games for it. It gives you a bigger library. Like, what are you going to do with new hardware that's going to be so different than the previous thing as far as a technological leap is concerned?
I think the other thing is, I agree, by the way. I wish life cycles were longer. And hopefully there will become that at some point. But from a development perspective, targeting more SKUs is more work, right? So, I mean, we've seen that the PS4 there's still games coming out for the PS4 right now, PS5. So I think if there was a longer life cycle for consoles, it means that developers could be more focused on just targeting that specific set of hardware rather than having to worry about last generation and current generation and the Pro model that may be out and some other SKU that is available as well, some handheld thing. So I think the less, the better in this scenario. I think, longer life cycles is a good thing. And Sean mentioned diminishing returns. Look, I agree. There are some really great games that have been announced. We've seen what Naughty Dog's doing their next game and stuff like that. But I don't necessarily agree that you need better hardware to run these games right now. I feel like we're at a point where graphics technology is so good, and we're just trying to get that final 10% off the top, which is ray tracing and AI upscaling at this point. So I don't necessarily really feel like we have to keep releasing consoles every 5 or 6 years at this point. So we'll see what the market says, though. That's the interesting part. But as a developer, I'd rather just have a set of consoles and work on those for the next 7, 8, 9, 10 years. That would be ideal, honestly.
Yeah, I like the idea of this generation. Go ahead, Celia.
Oh, I was like, you guys hit all the points that I would want to bring up. Just also with the consumer buying patterns of adding on another, when they announced the Pro, the frustration from consumers seeing that price tag and what truly the difference was between the Pro and the PS5. I can't imagine if they were let's say 2026 or new console time, it's just frustrating. So I feel like right now with consumer buying patterns, it would make more sense to extend the lifeline so people are seeing more value in a console that they're not currently really investing in currently.
Yeah. And the other thing with that is I'd like to assume if we went a 10-year cycle that we would finally get to a point where the PS5 is lower in price and just becomes more attainable. Slim models, they just refine it that way. Like at the PS3, how many versions of that did we get? I know we didn't see it every time because sometimes they use the same case, but they changed the board up a little bit. And we got even more efficient ones as we went to where we got that super slim, and it got cheap. it didn't come with a hard drive, but they had a 12 gigabyte model. Do you remember that thing that Walmart sold for like, it's like $120 or something? Yeah, I mean, it got cheap from the 600 it originally launched at. So that's what I would like to see. Just have this generation really go for a while and them work to refine it. And as you mentioned, MVG, these longer these longer development cycles, you get to a point where developers become very familiar with the hardware, and things just get better as it goes.
Plus, also, I mean, I think we talked about this like on the last episode before the holidays, but Naughty Dog needs the entire generation to make a game, right?
Yeah.
So by the time their game comes out, it's probably going to be cross-compatible with whatever's next after. So no one wants to be in that situation. No one wants to worry about another SKU at that point. You just want to get your game out on the hardware that you built it for. So I don't know. I'm all for a longer generation for consoles.
It's crazy to think back on that PS3 generation, and they had Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 come out the same gen on the PS3, and now it's like, can we just get a Naughty Dog game out? And Intergalactic could end up being a 2027 game. Who knows? I'd like to think it's like 2026, but might cut it close there. And I had to bring this up for Sean. And he had a moment at the end of one of his videos about cable. He lost the thing that was supposed to keep the cable valuable to him, which was Nick's MSG. Couldn't reach a deal. And now I have to wonder, Sean, is this the moment where you reevaluate cable? Are you finally going to cut the cord?
There's a lot of problems that go into it because where I live, the only cable is Optimum. So I have two options. I have Fubo, which is $70 a month, and Gotham Sports, which has MSG and all the subsidiary channels. Yeah. It costs $30 a month. So I signed up for Gotham Sport because this whole fucking thing. All right, now you're gonna get me on a tangent here.
Wait. Can you? I don't know what's going on with any of this. Can you please explain everything that's happening?
I'm about to. So December 31st, I get a text message from Optimum saying that they are currently negotiating with MSG, which is the channel that the Knicks come on, and that they're doing everything in their power. Everything seems fine, and they're going to continue to carry MSG into the foreseeable future. Fast forward to January 1st. I wake up to a text message around 9:30 in the morning sent from Optimum that MSG and Optimum could not come to an agreement, and they will no longer be carrying MSG networks while they try to work this out. So I, of course, was not rational whatsoever. I threatened them on Twitter that I would leave Optimum. They gave me a $60 credit off of my bill and said that they're going to be working on it and to check back with them. So as it stood, I had no way to watch the Knicks play, which is fucking acceptable. Because it's really the only reason I have cable. I have cable and internet bundled through Optimum. So there's a couple different options like Fubo TV, which is like a fake cable thing that costs like $70 a month, and then Gotham Sports, which is only $30 a month. So I figured, well, I'm saving $60 this month. I'll get Gotham Sports for 1 month and then, check it out. And then if nothing happens within a month, I'll just fucking leave. The problem with Gotham Sports is I like to watch the games with the play-by-play over on my friend Nick's Fan TV channel. So they're like a group of like a bunch of different people. But the person who does the play-by-plays used to live in Queens, but now he lives in Los Angeles. He's watching the games on League Pass. I have League Pass, but of course, because it's a local game, it's a blackout on that. He is a full minute ahead of me. And so, like, the chat is like, oh, shit, Cat with the jam. Cat doesn't even have the ball on my fucking screen. The other team still has the fucking ball. I'm a full minute behind. So I have to delay the fucking live play-by-play. I can't even look at the goddamn chat anymore because I'm so far behind. I'm going to be spoiled, and I don't want that. So this is another problem that I have with the Gotham Sport. Like, I'm an hour away from the fucking arena. Why is there a 1 minute goddamn delay? I don't understand. Who are you, Optimum, to be in a fucking position to be like, this is one of the reasons why people have us. Let's get rid of it. Like, I don't know. It's just fucking bullshit greed stuff. You already charge way too goddamn much for cable anyways. And I was fine with it. I didn't mind. I had a decent bundle deal. I could watch my Knicks, and there was no fuss. There was no bother with it. And now I can't. And Optimum is like the main provider in the tri-state area. So there's millions of people who cannot watch it. They've had like celebrities, like one of the guys from The Sopranos, Tracy Morgan, talking about it. Like, hey, y'all need to come to a deal with it. It's just fucking ridiculous, man. It's overcomplicating something that doesn't need to be complicated in the first place. You don't like, if I fucking lived in Dallas, does Dallas have this problem with the fucking Mavericks? I don't hear about problems like this out in fucking LA, but why here? Why is this the problem?
Have you looked at YouTube TV? Does that help you at all?
It's too expensive, and no,
I have it.
They don't have MSG. The only one that has MSG is Fubo and Gotham Sports. So I might look into Fubo. They do have a free 7-day trial. So I guess my mindset would be I would cancel my cable, but keep my internet with Optimum, because once again, it's the only place I'm getting, 1 gig internet around here. Nobody else has that. And then I would try out Fubo and see, how that works. It's such a fucking, and cutting the cord thing. The whole point of cutting the cord was to make things easier. Now you got to have,
so fragmented now.
50 fucking different subscriptions. Half of them you forget about, that increase their prices every goddamn month. Oh, here it's $5. Oh, now it's $15. And then before you know it, you're paying more than you were with cable.
Disney Plus is over $20 or something now.
And you have less control. You have less options because they just remove things at a whim. It's fucking ridiculous, man. Fuck these people.
Are you picturing that moment later in the season, Sean, where it's tied 105, 4 seconds left, ball in Brunson's hand, and then you look at the live chat and they ruin whatever happens?
No, because I will have a solution by then. I will have.
Well, keep us up to date, Sean.
Doesn't involve a toaster, does it?
Maybe. I can always, worst case, I can always go to my grandparents' house, because
you don't even know, Sean. Anytime that the Knicks are down like 5 points in the fourth quarter, he's filling the bathtub.
Because crazy. They have Spectrum. They live 10, 15, 20 minutes away from me, and they have Spectrum, and Spectrum isn't having this problem.
But then when there's glory to be had and they make that shot at the end, Sean's ripping off his shirt running down the street. So, it's give and take. It's give and take. Well, keep us up to date, Sean. It's very important stuff over there with Optimum.
I will.
Do a little over under here just for 2025. I picked out 5 things just real quick, just for fun. So I was going back and just looking at things that happened in 2024. I tried to come up with some numbers here. We can just kind of take a guess. I don't know if we'll remember any of these, but you never know. I mean, it's the first episode, it should be easy to find either way. So in 2024, we had 12 games that scored in the 90s on Metacritic. I went through and counted. So for 2025, you think it's over or under 12 and a half?
What's coming out this year? We've got Metroid,
that's the thing, right? It's like, what's coming out? Okay,
we've got Metroid.
That is a shot. Yeah,
we've got GTA 6, if it's to be believed. So let's assume it's there. So that's 2. What else? What else is coming out? What are the big games this year?
Silk Song?
No, come on, be serious. That's not no.
There's a bunch of Microsoft's putting out a bunch of games this year coming up too, but I'm not sure where those are going to land.
Assassin's Creed's not going to hit 90. It'll probably be 80 something.
Mid-80s probably. Yeah, I could see that. Depend if maybe I don't know if Sony's going to have any like oh no, Ghost of Yotei. I don't know if that might be mid-80s too.
Yotei could sneak in, but it's going to be tough. So we've got 2 games so far. I don't know.
There were some surprises 2020, like Balatro. That was a 90, and I don't think we would have called that at the beginning of 2024. So there could be some surprises, some smaller indie titles that make its way up there as well. Basically, it's like if you think 2025 we'll have more standout releases than 2024? I guess would be the better question here.
I
Hopefully.
don't think so. Hopefully, yeah. But I feel like the standouts will be indie this year.
Okay. So
That's my bet.
I think, yeah.
12 and a half.
Well, because
Okay.
I think there's a lot of mystery. Your Stubby Ghost of Yotai comes out this year. I don't know that.
That's true. No, you're right. You're right.
I have no reason. I honestly have no reason to think that. What is Sony doing? What is Microsoft doing? People think Gears of War E-Day is a 2025 game. I don't necessarily think that. I think Fable is a 2025 game. Why? Why would I think this? Especially with these companies. What the fuck is Nintendo doing?
Wait a minute. It's 2025 because Xbox said it was 2025.
Xbox says a lot of things, MVG. We both know that those don't always come to fruition, though.
You are right, but at this juncture, at this moment, we have to just assume that that's what's happening.
Well, Fable's not going to get one of those scores anyways.
There could be a new Forza Horizon game, and that's like almost always in the 90s.
I'm looking at the list of games. Avowed's not going to hit 90. And then we've got, I don't know. There's the Suikoden remaster. That's March 6th. That's not going to hit 90.
That's 80s.
Yeah, that's 80s. Man, Borderlands 4. That's scheduled for this year. Not going to hit 90.
What about Mafia?
No. 80,
probably
80,
not.
High 80s.
Yeah, high 80s. Doom: The Dark Ages. How we feel about that one?
That has a chance. I hope for better multiplayer than what they did with Doom Eternal. Go back to the traditional stuff. That was way better.
I think Doom could sneak in.
What did you just say?
Fair games.
Okay.
So he said multiplayer. I was like, oh yeah, multiplayer fair games. That's coming out.
What about Elden Ring Night Rain? Everyone loves Elden Ring.
Yeah.
That probably will. That's not easy.
Another game of the year.
Yeah.
Fable's probably going to not. Goes to Yotai. I mean, it might sneak in. Will Indiana Jones and the Great Circle hit 90 on PS5?
Oh, it might.
I don't think so. I don't think so because what's the difference going to be? Just the fact that it's on PS5.
Yeah,
I'm sure Nintendo will have some sort of launch game that gets it. I don't know. I think there's too much mystery right now. I think if we had a better outline for what was coming out, because a lot of companies, they're kind of holding their cards a bit closer to their chest now as far as announcing stuff is concerned. What's Capcom up to, what's Square Enix up to, things like that. So
yeah,
there's a chance, but
Monster Hunter's another one, right? That's how we feel about that one.
Oh, that
Monster Hunter coming.
Monster Hunter. I mean, I'd compare it to like Monster Hunter Rise, right? Like that was the last one they had technically.
How'd that go?
I thought that was in the. Make sure.
But I mean,
it was 88 when it dropped, so I could see this one. Wilds maybe even doing that or even a little better. It has a shot. It has a shot in 90s. It does.
I do wonder though if because a lot of these games, Borderlands 4, another Monster Hunter game, like could there potentially be a little bit of fatigue with some of the sequel-itis?
Yeah. At this juncture, I'm going to say no. Under.
Okay. Under 12.
But there is so much to be announced this year, right?
Right.
And that could very easily that could change at the end of this month that we feel differently about it. But right now, no, I don't think so.
I'll say over just for now. I'll say over. I'll go over on that one, 12 and a half. Just because you're right, there's some mystery. I'll roll the dice on that. I will.
And there will be some indies that we're not really familiar with that will probably
some fucking digital novel 99.
I did count at least one of those up there. I will say that when I was going through. Like it's got 8 reviews, but it's a 92. All right. First party Microsoft releases 7.5 over under.
Wait, say that again.
First party Microsoft releases. So first party games
7.5
over under 7.5 releases. Yes.
Are you counting?
What? Oh wait,
like new release.
Not Indiana Jones. You're saying the number. I thought you were saying like the rating.
Number of games they released. this
Under.
year.
When was the last time they released 7 games, John?
How many did they have last year? 6?
That's not 7.5.
7.5. They have a number already announced.
Fable. Is Perfect Dark 2025? Do they say Perfect Dark?
I'm going to say no, but we don't technically know. But I'm going to say no, probably not.
No. No. What are we talking about? What are we doing here?
I think 1.25 is what
1.25
Microsoft should be striving for.
And that's what they've always said that they wanted to get to, right? Like they wanted to be 1.25. So I think that's going to be it.
Okay, under on the 7.5. Got it. Okay. Nintendo Directs. I have 5.5 over under 5.5. There were 5 last year.
Are we including all the other ones or just
Indie
general
Direct? Anything that says direct on the end.
Partner showcase?
Yes, because they'll do
showcase.
it. They got the fucking
Museum
thing
Direct?
happening.
Movie directs?
Yeah,
the movie
of course
direct.
It'll be over 5.
They all count.
Over.
They all
This
count.
is going to be a big year for Nintendo. Let's be honest.
Over.
So,
Yeah,
over.
well, yeah. I mean, like they could even do them for just independent, like just single games. They maybe like more theme park stuff. Movie. They got to eventually announce the cast for the next Mario movie or Zelda movie, right?
Oh
Direct.
boy. Jack Black starring in Jack Black in Mario.
I'll go over that as well. What about Sony State of Plays? There were 4 last year. I got it over under 4.5.
I
What's with
assume
this half
it's
shit?
same.
Can we just
Because
say
you
the
can't
same
tie
as last
them.
year?
Yeah, I feel like it's the same as last year for Sony.
So you can't tie if it's 4.5. That's why I do 4.5. So if you do over, it can't be like, oh yeah, but it was 4, so it was over. It's either 3 or 4 or 5 technically if you go over under.
So wait, we can pick 4?
We just do over under 4.5. So if you're under, it's 4 or less. If you're over, it's 5 or more.
Okay, then under.
That's why I do the little half, so you can't technically tie.
Under.
Okay, taking the under.
I'm gonna go over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to be.
I'm gonna go over as well, actually, for State of Plays.
Always.
Although watch them do a showcase and it wouldn't count then, and that would be the 5.
Oh, we're talking about State of Plays. Oh, under. Come on.
State of Play specifically, yes.
Yeah. Under.
And the last one, number of times Jeff Keighley appears in an RGT85 thumbnail. I counted 5 this past year, so I have over under 5.5.
That's not bad, honestly.
Well, one of them technically was Jeff Keighley's head on your body. So I was like, is that like the whole, like, do I just give a half point?
You got muted. We can't hear you.
What happened?
Can't hear you.
Yeah.
Oh. Wait, John, talk?
Hello?
No. What is the piss poor quality over there? Had to restart your computer. Hello?
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have, where did I cut off? I'll just say Jeff Keighley was in your thumbnail as a face on your body.
Right. That's where we last heard you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I have that over 5.5 over under on that one. Basically, Jeff Keighley come up and annoy you in your videos.
Over.
I'm going under.
I'm going under.
Okay.
It's tough because Sean can control this, so if he says under, he can kind of influence it a bit. But I'm also kind of banking on the fact that he'll forget this.
Yeah, I'm not going to remember that.
I'm going to bank on over, and Sean forgets and goes on a rant. Several.
I'm trying to think of what Jeff will do this year that'll annoy Sean.
Exist.
Yeah, show up and
be in a showcase.
Yeah,
he likes
take
you.
Over a showcase.
He likes you.
He's nice.
Keighley likes you.
I don't hate the guy. I don't like what he does sometimes, and I don't like his little group of yes men leeches that attach themselves to him like fucking parasites, and how he kind of is a parasitic person attaching themselves to events that don't necessarily need him. However, I'm sure he's not a bad human being.
I will go over.
Yeah.
I'm going under. I think Sean's going to rein it in a little bit this year.
I don't think so.
There's a lot of stuff coming out this year. I don't feel like Keighley's going to be that important this year.
All right. Well, let's start with GTA 3 on the Dreamcast, because I have 2 people here who have played it, who have covered it. I haven't played it yet. I will eventually.
What was all this about? Oh, MVG, you need to get the ISO for us. Let's get that going. What are we doing?
Whoa,
here?
none of that happened. I don't know what you're talking about. No one's distributing ISOs over here. None of that.
And that was me who was yelling at you because I was actually gonna fucking play it.
Yeah, Sean he checked it out on his channel. MVG did a good video on it, even talking about the backstory to it, some of the limitations. And I will say this: I was back in the day when I remember when GTA 3 was coming out, and it was like this really big deal online and stuff. It was that thought of, is this showing that the PS2 is that? Remember, there was all those rumors about the PS2 being able to launch missiles and stuff. And I saw that game and I thought, man, PS2 really is that system. Like it is as crazy as a game. I didn't think it could run on the Dreamcast. I really didn't. And then we started seeing this project happen, and I mean, you guys played it. It worked.
Well, and it's using assets from the remake.
Yeah. Okay. So the way that works, because they outlined it, you actually have to pull the way that this is all working and not getting destroyed by Take-Two is you have to own a copy of the game on PC technically.
Yeah.
Right, Energy, is that correct?
Yeah, I have the
we all
version.
do. Yeah, same.
Yeah. Okay. So it pulls the assets from the game and then builds the file. So.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the difficult part is Take-Two have obviously taken down GTA 3 repositories before, reverse engineering stuff. I think it was back in 2021 where they did all that, and they even threatened lawsuits with some of the developers. And they kind of claimed copyright infringement, DMCA type stuff. And that particular group, they weren't sharing any game assets or anything either. So if Take-Two really wants to, they can probably do the same thing here. But I'm hopeful that they're not going to do this. I mean, the team that's working on this, they don't have any Patreon. They don't have any donation links. They're just like, hey, we want to do this because this is really cool. So hopefully, Take-Two will just ignore it and just let it be. But we'll see.
Even one of the original developers, Abe Vermey, talked about it, right? And it's like, this is incredible. This is awesome. They're able to get that done. There was a port, right? At one point, there was a planned one for it started out on the Dreamcast.
So there's been conflicting stories about this. I mean, I think we all agree that they all say that it started out on the Dreamcast. But I heard different stories. I have heard from, it's not firsthand from a developer that worked at Rockstar, but I've heard I've read various Dreamcast forums and stuff like that where some people have spoken to developers that worked at Rockstar, and there was talk about how the Dreamcast wasn't possible to run the game, so they scrapped it. But I also heard that they did it for financial reasons because the PS2 was going to be an absolute monster of a machine, which it was, right? So why not, put all the money on the system that's going to be a runaway success for you? So I don't know, but I think a lot of people still believe that the Dreamcast wasn't really capable of doing it, and it has to do with the memory of the system. It has 16 megabytes. And the PS2 has 32 megabytes. And the Xbox original, remember, that had a port of the game as well, has 64 megabytes. So I think trying to squeeze everything into 16 meg is just phenomenal, what they've done, right? So, and having I burnt the CD, and I know you guys were running off GDEMU and stuff, which runs way better. But burning a disc and just listening to that thing just spinning all the time and just loading in stuff.
Do you hear the laser going crazy?
Yeah, it goes nuts. But the team that's working on it have said that they've already what they have now is okay, but they're looking at rebuilding the streaming system in the game to make it more optimized. So, but even the version that we have now is way better than what I would have expected it to be. You can play the entire game start to finish, and also memory VMU saves do work, Sean. One thing I found out was if you don't have enough blocks on your VMU, it's going to say it's saved, but it doesn't. So there's no kind of error that says your VMU is full or whatever. You just need a VMU with at least 60 blocks free, and it will save.
Okay, I actually just got a new VMU in today, so yeah, I can mess around with that tonight.
But yeah, it's very good.
VMU support. That's cool.
I do hope in the future, if I had some suggestions besides stuff that obviously exists, like occasional crashes and questionable audio quality. I do wonder if they could figure out a way to have like the VMU, like when you're in a car, it shows you the radio station that's on the
cool.
VMU.
That would be cool.
When you're on foot, your weapon that you have shows up on the VMU, or at least, you know, like a information about you know, how much ammunition you have in it. I mean, because there is a lot of things that people have been doing with VMUs as far as like, you know, being able to expand upon that and, you know, put graphics on there. I know, what is it? The Cowabunga collection for the Dreamcast, I'm pretty sure has its own custom graphics on there. So I'd like to see some stuff like that. I think that would be really cool to kind of set it apart. But no, it's extremely impressive, and, you know, definitely kind of a bit of a what if situation, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I do see a lot of takes saying that it could have saved the Dreamcast.
No.
I don't know if that's true, but it's nice to kind of just think about what may have been, you know, if they did drop that game on the Dreamcast.
They went from the Dreamcast to the PS2. It's just, again, for financial reasons, even seeing that the PS2 was, you said, going to be like this runaway success. It ended up being, it was a good choice by Rockstar and Take-Two overall, right? Well, I mean, it's hard to argue with them with where GTA is now. But
I mean, you got GTA 2 on the Dreamcast.
Yeah,
well, that's true. That's true.
You do?
That's true. Well, the other thing I think we brought this up earlier in the week, and that was Shenmue. How apparently there was a PS2 version of that game, and it never came out. And Sean, why didn't it come out?
I don't know. I didn't look into that story.
Yeah.
Oh, really? It's funny you brought it up. You brought it up to me, like why and it was just probably because off the top of your head you were like, oh well, obviously it was this, and it actually had to do with situation of like licensing, because there's real world brands in the game.
Oh yeah. That's why I played the Dreamcast version, because I wanted exactly the Coca-Cola, the Fanta Orange, the Fanta Grape, and Sprite.
They brought up Timex and they brought up Coca-Cola.
Right.
The developers here were talking about it. They said they went as far. So there was a build for the PS2. They said they went as far as to fix the shaders and translate everything over. As they say, the GPUs for the PS2 and the Dreamcast are completely different. So we redesigned them and installed them. From a game perspective, if you had wanted to release it, you could have done it. And they didn't. They held it back because I guess with the licensing, they decided not to, I guess, go to the table with Timex, Coca-Cola, whoever else said Fanta was in there, and just kind of left it on the cutting room floor. Which that wouldn't have had any effect on the Dreamcast at the time, because it was like probably by the time they had got that done, it was like, okay, the Dreamcast is going in the direction it is. But for Shenmue, I almost wonder in general for that franchise, what would have been if it was on the PS2. I went to the Xbox for the second one here,
I don't know.
But the PS2,
because PS2 had Yakuza on it.
It did.
Yep.
So, how would that have impacted potentially Yakuza? I think the problem with Shenmue, and I hate to rag on the guy some more, but I will, is Yu Suzuki. Like, he is the problem with Shenmue. It would have been nice to see it on PlayStation 2. Obviously, it could have helped with brand recognition. It's weird to me that was the holdup. Like, in the HD remaster, they just got rid of the brands. You know, now it's just normal cola, and I think it's Jet Cola maybe. It's not like that's a lot of work to do. There's 7 to 10 vending machines that you got to change. You got to change the watch a little bit. I feel like that's not a whole lot of work. So I don't think that that's strictly the only reason why. You know, maybe that's what people are saying. Maybe that's what, and I'm not saying that they are necessarily wrong. Maybe that's what they were told. But I feel like there's something more to it than something that could be potentially fixed at maximum a week. Like you're literally changing a graphic.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's just what they said, but you're right. That might have been what they were told, and there was just something else at Sega. They got the second one at least on Xbox, but I don't know, something about if they had a PS2 Shenmue release, just that kind of audience, just a large audience with it would have been, I don't know, interesting just for the history books. Because after Shenmue 2, it was like, went all the way to Shenmue 3. It took a while, and I will ask you this, Sean: should this franchise have been a trilogy? Should they have ended it?
Yes.
That was the whole point, wasn't it? Wasn't 3?
No.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The Kickstarter. Wasn't the Kickstarter like, everyone, help us finish the story. The Kickstarter is live right now. Am I wrong? That was it, right?
The problem is that's how it was perceived. But you have a motherfucker running the franchise who thinks, I can get 10 or 11 games out of this. That was the fucking plan to begin with. And he never fucking pivoted. Yes, it should have been a goddamn trilogy. Like you don't. Everyone knows how this story should go. Shenmue 3 should have been how it started was fine. And then you have Nozomi come along, you have Tom come along, you have Ini-san and Fukusan come along, and then there's a big showdown with Lan-Di. You beat his fucking ass, you murder him, and then bam, roll fucking credits. Everyone's happy. But no, you have some egotistical maniac running the franchise who thinks that what's this new fucking game? Some stupid ass fucking thing? What's that new game? That piece of shit game? That the game that sucks so bad that everyone has to say Shenmue creator, the Virtual Fighter Yu Suzuki's new game is
it's the cat game, right?
Yeah.
Or like Netflix or something.
Man, come on, this is ridiculous.
I didn't know he had a new game, honestly.
It did. It was like from the creator of Shenmue or something, Yu Suzuki, and then it showed. It was like this.
Is it Steel Paws?
Steel Paws. Yeah.
Wait, Steel Paws. I was like, cat game. Hold on.
Celia, have you played Shenmue?
I have Shenmue. I've played a little bit of Shenmue. I have not beaten Shenmue.
Look at GameSpot's title. Steel Paws, new game from Shenmue and Virtua Fighter creator debuts at the Game Awards. And then
you gotta dress it up. You gotta dress up that headline.
Anything. Like you have to associate if you're not going to know exactly who he is just by his name. They always do that.
But that's his fault for fucking up for decades. He used to be the fucking man. Damn, homie. In high school, you was the man, homie. The fuck happened to you, Yu Suzuki?
Sega did give him a lot of money just on that, like back in the day.
Shenmue cost over $100 million to make. In the late 90s.
Yu Suzuki couldn't miss. I mean, he was releasing hit after hit arcade stuff. Yeah. I mean, they gave him a blank check, basically.
And Shenmue was not a miss. Shenmue was a miss in terms of probably financial planning.
Profitability, yeah.
And profitability because of the Dreamcast. I think if the Dreamcast stuck around longer, it would have had a better chance of survival and, potentially being a little bit more successful on the financial side. But at some point in time, all jokes aside, you have to pivot. You have to realize time is of the essence. When you're given a golden opportunity to finally rectify something that at that time was 15 years in the making, and you're giving it on a silver platter. You've got Sony promoting you as well, and then you completely fumble the bag because of your ego, because that's the only reason that makes sense to me, is that this man's ego feels that he's going to be given another chance to finish the story. And so many fucking Shenmue fanboys, which I am one of you, are just so blind to it. They defend Shenmue 3. They're like, it's great. We'll get a Shenmue 4. You're like, bro, that was the opportunity. That was a chance. Like, I don't know. Yeah, you have Mark come back in the final, and Mark like kicks Lan-Di in the dick. It's perfect. Let me write it. I will write it.
He did some really great games. He Outrun, Space Harrier, Afterburner, Power Drift, G-Lock.
Yeah, they have
Virtual Racing, Virtual Fighter, Daytona, Virtual Cop, Virtual Fighter 2, Virtual Striker, Virtual Fighter Kids, Sonic the Fighters, Fighters Megamix. I mean,
but what's he done since like the early 2000s?
Nothing. I mean, yeah, not much at least. Steel Paws. Maybe that's the game.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's the one.
Makes a pile of money and puts it all back into Shenmue 4, which
I hope at the end of it, there's like credits that are running, and then there's like a mid-credit scene that sets up Shenmue 4.
That'd be great. But it says cats. Oh my gosh, imagine.
It's exclusive for Netflix games.
There you
That's
go.
okay.
It'll work on your phone.
Do you have Netflix, Sean?
For now.
You're good to go.
There you go.
Right on your phone.
Perfect.
Look at this nonsensical game. How old is this man?
Okay, so while he's doing
66.
that, did he just like retire from games for a while? And that's why the big break is there? Or did he do other things?
I don't really know, but I just kind of assumed that, after he left Sega like in 2008, he's been gone for a long time, and he's kind of been doing his own thing. I think he's just been trying to get money to make more games.
Okay.
Anyway,
he's an ex-smoker.
Good for him.
Okay.
But that means he smoked cigarettes. That could have taken years off of his life. He might not have much time. I need you to finish this goddamn story, please.
Well,
Just start tweeting at him.
No, because I made my tweet and fucking Adam Koralik got super mad at me because he's a big Shenmue guy. And I said, deep down inside, I'm right. And he was like, no, you're not right. And I was like, oh.
Let's move over to Nintendo real quick. This more about their just development strategy in the future, because as we're going along, we see the development costs rising across the board, and it is something I've wondered about Nintendo as they go into the quote unquote 4K era, where expectations around visuals and just production value keep going up, which keeps pulling up costs. And there was a thing that started to make the rounds as we were going on break from Miyamoto, who talked about their approach to development. And he said, we continue refining our products until we are confident that we have created something that our consumers will be satisfied with. With that in mind, what is important is to find ideas that are worth honing. And this has not changed since the era of the Nintendo Entertainment System. Everyone has different interests, so we cannot make sweeping statements about what ideas are worth pursuing. However, one thing we are sure about is that it should be something which has not existed in the past. The more you polish something that has never existed before, the more value it brings. And from there, he said, it's possible to create appealing products based on intriguing ideas without incurring significant costs. We believe that not all products require large costs. Even in the case of video games, with the current technology, it is possible to create fun games with a small number of developers in a short period of time. We believe it is important not to lose sight of this perspective. So, with all of that in mind,
a lot of word salad there. Let's be honest.
I mean, I mean, this is to investors trying to, I think, thread the needle on the idea of, hey, games cost a lot of money now. We're going to try to figure out how to not spend a stupid amount of money per game and not have it take forever, but also it'll have perceived value to it. It's not going to be peach fuzz on Aloy's face necessarily. You won't see that, but we'll try to get a certain points with the visual quality and how it's going to look. To me, Nintendo, it's such an interesting spot for them, because we've talked about diminishing returns. You get to a point where there's not much further you can break through. MG mentioned the 10% people are really going for now with the Pro and eventually the PS6 even. So eventually everyone kind of ends up in a very similar spot, and Nintendo is sort of ending up in that spot where Sony was back. I mean, you could say like midway through that PS4 generation, where projects started, fidelity and stuff was at a certain spot, 4K was being mentioned, and things were off and running for the PS5. Kind of feels like that's where Nintendo internally would be with their development schedule. And now they're trying to figure out, okay, this game that, I mean, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 characters, as mentioned, didn't have faces at one point because the resolution was so low. But you clean that up completely and it's 4K. A lot of things will stand out, and it does make me wonder about Nintendo and their allotment for development costs then in the future, as a company that completely relies on their software sales and profitability there over anything else.
So I know you guys labeled this as a as a word salad because my brain was like, wow, what a great PR message. They did great there. But they're right. And an issue with like Xbox and PlayStation, what they're going through right now is that the cost of making these crazy in-depth games is the cost. And it's getting so costly and the development size teams are so huge that even if you sell like 10 million units, it's not as profitable as it would have been in years prior. And Nintendo reinsuring investors, of course, making sure that the pockets are happy, but at the same time, like letting them know that we're still focused on quality without having to build out into such a crazy budget where things just get blown out of proportion. And hopefully this isn't just for first party. Maybe with working with other titles, that could be something that they could look to into as well. Because when studios pitch, I don't know if this is well-known knowledge, but if you pitch, you want to make a game using a certain IP to a bigger studio, depending on what the budget is and the scale of it, and whether they deem that to hit a profit margin where that they would be interested, if it's big enough scale for it, that's a depending factor. So if maybe they're looking at this way and they're keeping things more open, and it doesn't have to be a huge scale and doesn't have to hit a huge budget for things, maybe we could have more games using familiar IPs. I don't know. That's just something I'm thinking about.
I just think it was a response to investors just to reassure them that, we have a formula, we have a strategy. The games that we bring out, that we develop, they're not super large games. They don't cost a super, fortune to build. We have dedicated hardware to make those games on, and we don't really need more than, 3 years. And that's an arbitrary number to make most of these experiences, right? So I think it's really just reassuring investors that, look, going into the next generation, we're going to stay the course. We're not going to deviate away from what we've been doing that's made us successful. Even though budgets and rising costs of development is real, we're not really going to, mess with it too much. That's kind of what I took away from that.
Yeah, especially if you can come up with a unique idea, a little twist on some of these franchises, whether it's like Mario with the hat that takes over different enemies, Mario Odyssey. Those are the kinds of things you can base an entire game around and not spend $300 million to make the thing. So, yep. I mean, they're still going to spend stupid money on some games, like the next Zelda game, big 3D Zelda game. That's going to cost some money. It's not cheap, So
but they just charge $70 for it to make the money back.
Yeah,
and they'll sell a lot of copies, from what we've seen, just based on experience of even Tears of the Kingdom. Yes, sold less than Breath of the Wild, but we're still it sold less than Breath of the Wild, but still sold 20 some odd million. It's is that all? So they, I think the idea, the perspective of let's be kind of careful with these budgets for them makes sense because they don't have Microsoft gaming and then everything else for Microsoft. They don't have Sony, PlayStation, and then everything else for Sony, which includes music, pictures, all that. So Nintendo is just game, although they are becoming a little bit more now, I guess, with movies and theme parks and stuff. But it's also the cadence of releases too. 3-year releases, I think, would be a bit better, even if the experience is smaller anyway. So, but that's Miyamoto. Just at the table talking with investors, doing his thing. Oh,
it's all right. someone's at the door or something. It's all good.
You're so cute.
So bring
up this Atari.
Oh, we're going to go back to Yu
Suzuki. Are you going back to Yu Suzuki again?
Because this motherfucker did an interview in 2023 with IGN saying, I want Shenmue 4 to be enjoyable for newcomers. To make that possible, the most important thing is that we make it enjoyable without knowing previous events in the story. I don't think that a new player wants to know 100% of the story. 20 or 30% could be enough. In Shenmue 3, we implemented a digest movie that teaches the player the main events of the previous games. But for Shenmue 4, I want to integrate that part into the main game. And then he goes on to say, yes, I have thinking about a prequel. I can't go into detail at this point, but it's something I've been thinking about. I think recreating the streets of Dobuita with modern visuals on a new engine alone would make it worth doing. It also connects to the topic of not simply expanding its size, making it even more detailed Dobuita than the original Shenmue is an interesting idea, especially if it's not a remake, but a prequel with a new story. Go have a section of Dobuita in Shenmue 4 that doesn't exist, where Ryo goes back to visit Ini-san and Fukusan and maybe Fuxan got beat up by some, maybe the Mad Angels came back or something. Like, what the god damn this, man.
I like the idea of them doing a prequel, so they kind of sidestep for 3 and then come right back. So they have the whole series of events. They go around like this for 3, and they just come right back. The prequel, they start all the way back down here, and then to the first one. 7 parts of Shenmue, Sean. 7 parts.
He's not going to last that long. Please.
I feel like this is a situation where the industry is literally past him, by like.
Yes.
I think, in when was that Kickstarter announced? 2016? It's been a while, right?
Yeah, 2015 or 2016, somewhere around there.
That's different back then. Games they didn't take as long to build back then as they do now. Now, Shenmue 4, he's probably thinking to himself, I need at least 5 years on this game or something. And who's gonna want to fund the development of a 5-year Shenmue sequel,
or prequel,
which isn't going to finish the story? Like, I think his best play here is to write a script that bookends the story, finishes the story, and pitches it to a publisher and says, look, we really want to do this. It's gonna finish the game. The fans are gonna love it, type of thing, and have some really cool, history of the game as well in there. Maybe that would be fun, but you can't just keep going with what you got going on here. Like we have to just put a stake in the ground and finish this game off.
How many fans are going to be left around by the time, like just in general, are going to be even interested anymore after how long it's been if he goes for like 6 parts?
We're dwindling out. We're dwindling out very slowly.
Well, let's move over to Atari. They are doing a handheld, and at first I thought I knew what we were dealing with here, but then they showed the video and they kept showing parts of it, and I'm not so sure it's what I was originally thinking. So this is going to be at CES. It's with My Arcade Retro, who's also doing those Sega little arcade things. Okay,
interesting. Well, let's get something out of the way here. Not to say that companies can't change, because we've seen companies change and improve upon things or get better or sometimes get worse. My Arcade doesn't exactly have the best vibe about them. Remember that tablet-sized NES they released? That was a handheld and stuff like that.
I mean, like the quality of the product, basically.
Yeah, you go to Walgreens and you see them in Walgreens and stuff, and they make the little bite-sized arcades. Like the bite-sized arcades seem to be a little bit of a higher quality, but like we're not dealing with someone. And how the fuck are you gonna sit there and say, hi, I'm Sega, we're not a retro company, but fucking My Arcade can make this arcade pseudo mini arcade thing with buttons on the side to play Sonic 1.
Okay, so before the Atari thing, since we've been on Sega this whole time, they did seem
Sega show. God damn it!
They did seem to shoot down the idea of a Dreamcast Mini and a Saturn Mini, as the CEO for Sega of America said they're not a retro company. In Europe, yep. They said they're not a retro company anymore. They're looking forward. And then they doubled down. Apparently, I guess the publication, I think it was The Guardian, who got that quote, was like, hold on a minute. They did get seemingly verification from Sega that they are not going to be doing any more mini consoles for the time being, which is unfortunate because, look, I know people, I've seen the Dreamcast been talked about. The Saturn would be kind of cool, but I guess right now that's not what they're interested in.
How well did the Genesis Mini sell?
The first one did very well. The second one, not as much, but I also feel like
it was more niche.
And it was a little bit more overkill. Like, you've already done one of these.
Felt redundant.
You have other systems. Like, and that's the problem with Sega. When it comes to consoles, it's like Genesis, you gotta get Genesis. And it's like, oh, what about the Saturn? What about the Dreamcast? What are those? We don't know. And you're gonna sit there and say you're not a retro company, yet the most buzz and excitement that you've had for games outside of Atlas games and Yakuza games were bringing back old franchises. Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi. Like, what do you? I don't even know what to say.
The Dreamcast Mini. Okay, so we see how it could come together now because we see these lower power chips running the Dreamcast pretty well in just emulation of like just emulators that are kind of put together by hobbyists and stuff. I do wonder what the cost of a Dreamcast Mini would be and if that's something that's putting them off because
$150.
Yeah, $150. But that's not terrible.
I don't think the connections are enough for them to want to do it, and that's why they're saying they're not a retro company.
And most of the games are Sega games that people would want to play, so you're not having to worry about licensing issues.
$150. I mean, honestly, they'd be pushing it maybe with 200. I would still pick one up, but it seems weird that they wouldn't go for it because that seems like a slam dunk product.
They did okay, but here's the thing: they did the Astro City Mini, they did variations of the Astro City Mini, they've done everything but this.
Remember the little micro Game Gears?
Yeah, well? This is where we draw the line. You know, a system that would look great utilizing the VGA output. You know, 480p upscaled. No, this is where we draw the line. This is what we're not going to do.
Tell me it wouldn't be sick if they got Wi-Fi or internet working where you play online.
Celia wants to talk, John.
Go ahead, Celia.
Yeah, John. No kidding. So basically for it, like, I agree. I would love to have a Dreamcast Mini or a Saturn Mini. I think that would be awesome. But I think we're also in an echo chamber. Dreamcast and Saturn, we still think about that. We think it's really fucking cool. But I think on a general sense of the market of who they'd be selling it to and what would appeal to mass market, it just financially wouldn't make sense to do for these. I would love it, but then also don't have actually me for that like $200 price point. It's not like a bullshit, let's throw it under the tree, you know, filler gift. Like that is a sizable investment. It's, you know, and it's not an impulse purchase anymore. So it would be niche. And to fill that many units, that would make it something that would make more sense to release for mass market. Just, I don't think the numbers would add up. But I personally would love one. Release them all. You know, make an Apple Pippin too while we're at it. Wonder Swan.
I think you do have to keep it at,
that was another. Sorry.
At 150. Miracle Piano for the NES too. I'm surprised Hyperkin hasn't made one with their Wii guitar controller.
Oh God, are we gonna talk about that? Oh my God.
I think you do have to keep it at 150. My hang up with what you're saying is, you know, people don't care about the Dreamcast and stuff like that. Sega is relying on games for the future that Jet Set Radio, Dreamcast, Crazy Taxi, Dreamcast, like they're relying on that nostalgia. So if you were to release something like this that came out maybe a little bit before your new Crazy Taxi does, your new Jet Set Radio does, be like, hey, here's the history, here's the origins, here's the first games from it. Like, who is interested in Crazy Taxi? Who is interested in Jet Set Radio? If you're not like a Dreamcast fan, like, do those games really have mass appeal? Do those games have name recognition outside of older, you know, more seasoned gamers?
You know, it's kind of interesting. I feel like they had maybe a decent opportunity very recently. If they had, let's say they synced up the Dreamcast Mini right now this holiday and they just had the Sonic 3 movie come out, they have Sonic Adventure 2 Battle and the box art is literally Sonic and Shadow. And they could have put that on the front of it. I
mean, you do Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, you do Jet Set Radio, you do Crazy Taxi 1 and 2, you do Virtual Fighter 3 TB. You can throw Zombies Revenge on there as well. I mean, there's a wealth of games that they could have tapped into. They could have tapped it into the marketing, but it's kind of like, you know, when the first Sonic movie came out, you got to remember they didn't have a Sonic game to go along with it. They still haven't made a game based on a Sonic movie, which is insane to think about.
Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter did it.
I mean, Celia's probably right. I will say there would be a lot of kids who would look at it and be like, what is this old thing? The Dreamcast Mini.
And it's different than the Sega Genesis Mini because like that has like mass appeal. It's the pixel art characters are used repeatedly on merchandise. Like there's a lot of brand like recognition there regardless. And since it was, if I'm remembering correctly, under $100, there was the novelty impulse purchase. Like when we were going through the whole like uptick in interest of retro, I just think the timing, and while I do agree with Sean, there's tons of great games. Fuck it, throw Seaman on there. Like that'd be hilarious.
But then you need
like,
the microphone.
Yeah.
I mean,
Build it in
okay,
the
fine.
controller.
We're having our imaginary like.
But then what do you do for the VMU?
Guys.
Oh, I guess it plugs into the second slot of the VMU.
And also, they can put a mic in a DS. They can put a mic in a not Sega Genesis, a Dreamcast Mini. Okay,
but then you got to contact Leonard Nimoy's estate.
Oh yeah, man, what a licensing nightmare. But anyways,
Star Trek guy. I feel like that could be difficult.
I don't know. Maybe. Anyways, so it's just kind of one of those things where it just doesn't make sense. And we also are in an echo chamber, and that's something that like I always have to like take a step back from and like realize, because a lot of people don't really have conversations or excitement about the Dreamcast anymore. So I don't know. Those are my thoughts, my feels.
It's sad. More people should play the Dreamcast.
Agreed.
Cool moment in time. The other thing though was the Atari handheld. Like everyone's making a handheld now. This is the popular thing to do, like constantly. So at CES while we talked about the big handheld that's going to be happening with Lenovo, Atari is making one. And again, I thought I saw My Arcade pop up and I said, okay, it's probably like that. You mentioned, Sean, things you see at CVS, like the little handheld thing. It looks like it's a little more serious than that as they flashed images of it. There's a numpad on the right, which you would need for some of these Atari games, sure. But then they have like multiple inputs on the left with a D-pad in the middle. It looks like it's off the Series S controller. Of course, ABXY at the top, L1, L2, R1, R2, and they have a micro SD card slot in the back. They have ports to plug in controllers and
trackball.
Yeah,
trackball. Like there's multiple. It's crazy.
Does that mean Marble Madness will be playable on this?
I'm trying to figure out, is this an all-in-one?
I kind of feel like it is. I feel like it's going to be some type of an all-in-one that encompasses a certain section of the Atari brand, whether that's 2600 all the way up to, and I'll just say Jaguar, may not be that, but something like that, right? And there's a choice set of games that you play. It's an emulation box. It's an officially licensed emulation box.
What do you think? Is the SD card in the back is just to put more ROMs on it that you like? Is it going to be like a Linux based device, kind of or the Android ones?
Is there a cartridge slot on it? It doesn't seem like there is.
No, it looked like there was just an SD card slot.
So
but I saw that.
Be a preloaded thing. You can use an SD card to do more with it. Like I don't know. And they're not. Like Jaguar is Atari's Dreamcast. Like they don't fucking believe in it whatsoever.
Yeah. I think the SD card, there's a lot of, these recreation systems now. I've seen where they have a USB slot or an SD card slot where they let you just sideload ROMs in there. Like they don't care anymore about, legalities and stuff like that. If you have the ROM and they just assume that you've dumped your own games, put it on an SD card and play them. So I think it's probably going to be a little bit more open where you can play more games on this thing. But I think it's going to be a small section of Atari hardware that is playable on this thing based on the trackball and the number pad thing. Because the number pad, I think the Jaguar has the buttons, the number buttons, and there's another controller. I think it's the 7800 controller, or one of those older controllers has those numbers on there as well. So
the Jaguar does.
Yeah. So I think it's just going to be that. It's going to be cool. But I think they're just tapping into that Ambernic market at this point, where they're seeing people buying up those Ambernics. People love those things, those little handhelds.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the Game Station Pro, which was the console thing, it was 2600 arcade games, 5200 and 7800, and then they had games essentially like Pico games, which they buy up licenses. So you had 8-bit games like it's fucking Metal Mech, Noah's Ark, 8 Eyes. You had 16-bit games like Super Noah's Ark 3D, Thunderbolt 2. You had arcade games on there that usually didn't release. So it's probably going to be a game list like that, I would imagine. Like, I don't think they're going to do anything. You already have these licenses because you made a home console of it. Like, I don't think they're going to. I think it's going to be a disappointment if you're expecting something crazy.
I thought GameCube, PlayStation, like, just smashed together. But when I read that, I thought it would Comic GameSphere right away.
I mean, it wasn't a terrible thing, but,
pricing's going to determine this thing completely. Because, MVG, you mentioned Ambernick, dude, some of those systems, those little handheld guys, are less than a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series $70 game. Like, some of them fall in line with like high $50 to low $60 range, and it's impulse by territory, as Celia mentioned. So
one thing, so Sean and I did the 7800 plus reviews when we got those, and look, I will say I never grew up with Atari at home, so I don't really have much nostalgia for it, and I kind of got into it just with checking out the 7800 plus. There are some diehard Atari fans out there. Are a lot of them, and they're collectors, and they will buy anything with Atari branding on. So I think they're hoping to kind of just tap into that market because there's a lot of people. Look at Atari Age, like that is a huge forum. So they know what they're doing. But yeah, I don't think this is going to bring anything special to the table. It's just going to be an officially licensed retro emulation handheld, which is cool.
You're going to see it at it's going to be on display at CES, MVG. Go ahead, Celia.
Go ahead, Celia.
Are there any hands-on meetings at the CES for it or no?
I don't know. I don't have any meetings scheduled. I'm just going to go over to the booth and just check it out and be like, hey, this is cool. Can I take a closer look and see how far I get? The last time I did that was E3 2019 when I went to Hyperkin booth and asked about the N64 that they were doing.
Yeah, those were good times. I was there. Anyways, so I'm just curious because like back in the Hyperkin days, like they made the Retron 77, which was like the Atari game compatible console.
People like that 77. I remember.
Yeah, they did.
Reviewed well.
Yeah, it was an emulation machine, but since it was open source, we made it like as easy as possible for people to like sideload games. We also included sideloaded games from the community so they could distribute and people could play their games. It was really cool. So I'm just kind of curious like how this handheld stacks up to it. My experience with Atari is because of that console. I rewrote that manual a bunch of times, fun fact. So I'm kind of curious what the build quality looks like on this. And then also kind of the price point, because I remember some conversations with Atari like years ago and kind of learning what it takes to license those types of things from them. I'm curious if it's going to impact this device at all.
For sure. Yeah, I'll find out and I'll report back when I go out there next week. Hopefully I'll get to play with it.
Very good. As we finish up here, I did want to ask the cast if there's any hopes, any predictions, any resolutions for 2025. This is the first show of the year. Whole year in front of us right now for gaming.
As Notorious B.I.G. said, fuck bitches, get money.
Okay.
Is that all you got, John?
That's all I got. If you want my predictions, go watch my fucking video from yesterday.
I did watch it. I just want the industry to get better. Less layoffs. Just get back into grinding mode again. I'd like to think that the worst of the industry layoffs is past us now, but I'm also kind of waiting for the next thing to come, So, look, I just want good games, and I want a refreshed and energetic industry where people are excited about making games again. That's what I'm hoping for this year.
I'm going to piggyback off that and say I hope that it's 2025 brings more interesting discussions about the video games themselves. I'll say that.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you guys. Like I would love to see an end to all of the news headliner like layoffs of thousands of people's jobs and livelihood. I would love to see investments and more intention in original ideas and exciting concepts and taking risks with games again. Like I would love to see the gaming industry in general get its footing back in this economy with consumers and make games. I don't know. It's to be able to enjoy games. I hope for 2025 we all as an industry and consumers get to enjoy games again, because it's been hard and it sucks sometimes.
Well, I think that's it for us here. We are going to do some mailbag questions. Me and Sean will in a separate video that we'll post up. Puts a spotlight there on some of the good people over on the Spawncast network who help to support the show and everything. I want to give them their own video this time. So Sean and I will cover that. But next week we'll be back to more normal time. We'll live stream and stuff again. Do that next Friday night. But thanks everyone for joining us. Make sure you check out all the good people here, RGT, MVG, and Celia. I'll have them linked down below in the description. Until then, catch you guys later.
Make gaming great again.
Oh my God, Sean.
That's what Celia wanted to say.
No, I didn't want to say that. How dare you?
She did want to say it.